Hey, Jamie, I think you're on mute.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. It's 101 Central Time. That means it's time for emergency preparedness support for hospice and home health providers throughout Mississippi and Louisiana. And today we are going to focus in on District 9 in Mississippi, which is the Mississippi Gulf Coast, including Pearl River, Stone, George, Hancock, Harrison, and Jackson counties. I want to thank all of you for being here today. This is being recorded, so if some of our members cannot attend today, they will have access to today's recording. Um, when we talk about District 9, we're talking about over 500,000 people living in that district, and almost 100,000 of those 500,000 or over the age of 65. Um, Nothing wrong with being 65 or older. It's just that we have to take in more consideration with an older population with regards to evacuation. With regards to hospice, we have over 3,000 patients that were enrolled last year along the Gulf Coast, and that was represented over 2,000 deaths. In addition to the hospice deaths, you still had 3,700 other deaths that were not hospice related. So, as you can see, officials in this part of on the Gulf Coast have a lot of concerns
Welcome to the
about
next
about
module in
folks.
our home health case management.
Hey, hold up one second. Yeah, I've got to mute you. Thank you. So they have a lot of moving parts and a lot of folks to be concerned about when there is an emergency declaration, especially if there's going to be some sort of evacuation of the coast. Um, let's see. Let's go here. So these are your emergency managers for the counties in District 9. These are the folks that you would send your emergency plans to if you've changed them. If you've had any changes to your plans since last year, you need to send a new copy of that plan to your emergency manager. Better yet, I would suggest that you actually go and visit your emergency manager. And when I say that, we're talking about the emergency manager for the county in which your office is located. We also highly recommend that you not only include the county in which your office is located, but in every county within your service district. If you have patients in any of these counties, I strongly recommend that you send a copy of your emergency plan to that emergency manager as well. These are their contact numbers and these are their websites. In terms of the at-risk registry, while the at-risk registry is mandatory in Louisiana for home health and hospice. In Mississippi, it's strongly recommended and urged, but it's not mandatory. And as of this morning, you can see we have about 106 patients that are in the registry, which is when I went to look at it before last year, this time we had almost double that. So I say this because you want to identify these patients that may need assistance in the event of an emergency now. Don't wait until the peak of hurricane season because emergency managers in these counties will not be thinking of them in terms of their planning. Identify these patients now. Those are patients who are living alone without a caregiver or who have a caregiver, but that caregiver is not either mentally or physically capable of following through on an evacuation order, or they don't have the means to evacuate. They're financially strapped. It's a 3-day evacuation for hurricane is going to run the average family about $1,000 when you think in terms of transportation, overnight accommodations, and meals. A family of four can easily spend $1,000 in that event. If your social worker does a financial assessment of that family and realizes they just don't have an extra $1,000 to their name, you can put them in this registry. And then finally, those patients that are refusing to evacuate, just we have lots of those patients who are saying, I've survived storms in the past and I'll survive this one. Emergency managers need to know about those patients as well. Those are the four categories that we urge you to put into the registry. In the registry, I also noticed that while all of the patients on the Mississippi Gulf Coast they had their zip code and they had their date of birth. The one thing that half were missing was the weight. And weight is an important factor that emergency managers need to know in planning. It takes different resources for them to move someone on a stretcher who may be 125 or 200 pounds. It's a very big difference if they have to move someone who is 600 pounds. And we do have patients like that in the registry. I didn't see any bariatric patients on the Gulf Coast this morning when I looked in there, meaning that they were 600 pounds or greater, but it does happen from time to time. I will tell you one thing that I've learned is that there is a discrepancy between what we consider bariatric patients in Louisiana. I'm not sure in Mississippi, but in Louisiana, a bariatric patient was considered anything over 350 pounds, whereas on the federal side, a bariatric patient is considered bariatric if they are 250 pounds. So there's a 100-pound difference there in terms of their understanding between what the feds and what the state think are bariatric patients. And we have to go with the federal because if patients are being put on a plane, it's going to be a federal plane. And so that's why they need to know the exact weight of your patient, because everything in that sort of evacuation scenario is tied to the weight, not only the weight of the patient, but also the weight of any equipment that patient may have accompanying them. So that's why it's real important for you to identify these patients early and to note their weight. In the registry today, overall, we have over 2,000 patients that are in there, but only 1,400 of them have been updated as of last Friday. We have 800 that have not been updated. And as you can see, 1,000 of the 2,000 patients are currently missing that weight notation in the file. Of the patients who have been updated, 592 of them are still missing weight. So if you have patients in the registry, regardless if you're on the coast or in South Louisiana or wherever, please make sure that you're noting the weight. One thing I will say that we learned in a tabletop in Louisiana that also applies in Mississippi is, like I said, is that weight, date of birth, and zip codes are all very important in terms of tracking patients if they should be transported. One other thing that you should consider is that in an actual emergency, please answer your phones. And it's important to make sure that your receptionist, the person who's answering the phone in your office, knows where to direct calls from the county or the district emergency managers. In the tabletop exercise that we performed in Region 1 back in April, we discovered that there's long delays. Most of the receptionists didn't know where to refer their calls when emergency managers were calling in to get information about those patients. And in one instance, the folks running the exercise will put on an 18-minute hold. 18 minutes. They were waiting for someone to respond to the receptionist's call for somebody to pick up on that line. Also, please be consistent with the information that you're putting in the registry about your patients. We found some instances where the patient was listed as both bedbound and ambulatory, and it's either one or the other. Are there any questions before I turn this over to, do we have emergency managers from District 9 on the call with us?
Hey, Jamie, it's Chad from Jackson County. I'm here.
Hey, Mr. Brownlow, thank you for being with us. You want to tell us a little? I know you were handling a lot of the transports to the medical needs shelter last year. Are you still heavily involved in that?
I don't have a huge role. I'm just a coordinator right now. I just kind of, hand one person off to the other and make things happen. But to kind of answer the question I see about what travel documents will be required for
Yep.
any of that sort of kind of thing, go into a special needs shelter. It's just going to be your basic personal information. Obviously, you're going to need your medical information. You're going to need doctors' names and all that kind of stuff. Any of your medication listings, any of your allergies, anything that would set something off or cause a problem during transport. That's the kind of documentation you need to be on hand, especially if you're in some sort of a state of panic or state of stress that you can't communicate clearly. So that would be the other thing is documents that communicate information clearly when you're not able to due to stress or other situations. Those kind of paperwork is definitely just as important as your medical paperwork.
Mhm. In terms of folks that are going to be seeking shelter in the medical need shelter is located in Stone County, correct?
Yes, it's in Wiggins.
In Wiggins. Is there any particular criteria for patients to be referred there as
Um,
opposed to a general shelter?
yes. I believe the Mississippi State Department of Health has some of that online, on their website as far as the special needs shelter. And I'll be happy to, get those links to you in an email so you can send that in. As far as, our particular office in our county, different counties run things different, but, as far as us getting people to the special needs shelter, it's basically verifying that there's an actual need for that. Because again, it's a special needs medical shelter. It's not somewhere if that they've got a dog that's uncomfortable. It's not for those kind of people. If they just if they're not comfortable with the way they're sitting, or if it's some minor inconvenience, again, that shelter's not for them. It's got to be some sort of kind of ambulatory or some other respiratory or some sort of very life threatening event that we're going to refer people up there, because again, it's a single shelter that we share amongst all these counties down here, and we're not going to be the only people that's going to be sending those special needs kind of people up. So we want to be very judicious in how we pick and send people up.
Shelter can accommodate how many people, how many patients?
The special needs shelter, we took a walkthrough maybe, I think it was 2.5 years ago. I don't know if they've changed the bed layout, but the infirmary room that we seen, I want to say was like 50 patients.
Patients. And will those anyone who's moved to that shelter, special needs shelter, they should bring a caregiver with them?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You're going to be in a situation where you're going to have all these doctors around you trying to help you, and if you got to get something, out of your purse or out of your wallet or, out of your bag, you need someone to kind of oversee, your information, your property and stuff like that you're not actually able to do while people are helping you bedside.
So they need to have a caregiver, and they need to bring all medications or all equipment like concentrators, oxygen concentrators or suction machines or whatever special DME equipment they may require in terms of their care, they should bring with them, correct?
Yeah, yes, they should plan to bring that. If you're looking at a situation where, you have a person that would be a candidate, what we always tell people is just call early and find out. Don't wait till the last minute. Because if you find out certain details that might help you, you might find out that, for whatever reason, if you have like some sort of air machine, a breathing something, you may find out that they'll have that on site when you get there and you don't have to worry about packing that. So kind of planning that early and getting those details worked out a little bit beforehand will, how's the saying go, an ounce prevention kind of deal. So
Yes.
I always encourage people to, look at the service as something that you might be able to use and find out about it first.
And when you say contact us, you're talking about contacting their individual county emergency manager, the county emergency manager in which the patient is a resident.
Yeah, yeah, yes.
You not the location of the hospice office or the home health office, but where the patient is located. You want to contact that emergency manager to get details in terms of admission into the special needs shelter.
Yeah, your department of health at the state level, I mean, they're gonna be kinda uniform, but again, each county, as far as the way the emergency management is set up, and more importantly, the staffing, the who is doing what, you're gonna wanna find out those ropes before, you have to travel them, so.
Thank you, thank you. And once again, in terms of the credentials for post emergency, uh, for home health and hospice providers who are going to be coming back in after, what travel documents or credentials will they need in order to, access the Gulf Coast?
Um, so as far as the personal documents, definitely just a driver's license at a very, very basic sense. As far as, if you're talking about evacuation and reentry,
Right.
if that's kind of what we're talking about
Yes, sir.
here,
That's what I'm talking
um,
about.
the state at one time they did have an entire system, and I don't think that they use that anymore. But as far as, I mean, I can speak for the lower three. We are already in talks on making I don't want to say a homebrew system, but something that works for, us three in the lower six
Mhm.
because just kind of like y'all know in Louisiana, we're the first ones to catch it, so we
Right.
have to move a little bit differently.
Right.
But what they would need is, again, this is one of those things where first you start with the county that you're in. You work with that emergency manager, and let's say that you're in Hancock County, but you have business or patients in Jackson County. So you're going to reach out to Hancock. Hancock's going to reach out to us, and we're going to fashion you some sort of a card or certificate or something like that. We're kind of working out the logistics of, how well this is going to work over the internet versus having to print this stuff out.
See,
So,
I see.
because at the end of the day, if you leave from Hancock County, you want to be safe traveling through Harrison, traveling to Jackson, then back through Harrison, then back to Hancock County as an example. So we're looking at a way over the internet, whether it's an email based or whatever, just something to get a paper or digital credential to someone that does that. We don't have an official system in place. I think it used to be ERTIN, but that's gone by the wayside.
Right.
But like I said, as far as moving safely, just reach out to your emergency manager. and kind of explain what you're doing there, and we will quickly get together and get you some sort of credential that will allow you to move through, whatever counties you need to move through.
Okay. Having a company badge, I would imagine, would help facilitate that sort of movement.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, that would be one of those things where, again, we're trying to just draw up some agreed upon paperwork that will work for any county. And it might even be as simple as, calling your emergency manager and say, "Hey, I'm going to send you a picture of my badge," and then as long as, your badge is kind of, pushed out through an email or some, message system, and we all know, hey, this guy's good, and that's kind of all we need.
Okay. Thank you. I thank you. I appreciate that. Um, okay. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Brownlow? Anyone have any particular patients that they're concerned about with regards to the Mississippi Gulf Coast or issues that your patient is facing right now? Do we have any other emergency managers on from the Mississippi Gulf Coast on the line with us today? Okay. Well, Mr. Brownlow, is there anything else before we close up today that you would like to advise hospice and home health providers with regards to this hurricane season?
Um, I guess the only advice we have had an increased amount of requests from um y'all's kind of agencies as far as like training and literature for flood and tornadoes. That seems to be a new fun thing that we get a lot more than hurricanes right now. Just a quick word on that is just get online, do your research, and do a little bit of training and a little bit of interaction with your personnel. I know it gets boring, but the more that you do it, it makes muscle memory, and you won't have problems later on. So my advice is if it's been a long time since you've talked about a tornado or a flood, or probably not a hurricane, but even that, just sit down with your people and go over that and figure something out.
And I know last year I attended, there was a District 9 meeting during the hurricane season. I was just wondering, have you heard of any meetings, district-wide meetings that are going to be taking place um, this year?
No, I haven't heard of any.
The
I know
Healthcare
that there.
Coalition?
I have not heard of any specific meetings. I know that on the state level, I think we're slated to meet at the very end of the year around November, but that's the
Right.
only, district meeting I've heard for our area at this time.
Okay. Well, if you could send me those links to triage protocols for admission into the special needs shelter in Wiggins, I would really appreciate that. And I'll include that in today's slides when I send them out.
Not a problem, Jamie.
Okay. Um, anyone have any questions with regards to the Mississippi Gulf Coast or any emergency preparedness question today? Well, I want to thank you all for your time and your efforts in trying to ensure that we have a greater level of safety for patients who are homebound and who are on hospice. Um, we will be meeting again next week, and I think we will be looking at Region 2, which is Metro Baton Rouge next week, if I'm not mistaken. Correct? Allison,
Yes, sir. That
we're
is correct. Yes, sir.
you're
We'll
you're
be
up
on.
next week, right?
We are, yes, sir.
Okay. Very good. Well, in the meantime, folks, we have this crazy weather in terms of heat and in terms of thunderstorms and flash flooding alerts. And I don't know about you, but I've signed up for many of the area alert systems, and my phone is constantly going off, letting me know about tornado potentials or especially flash floods over the past several weeks. So pay attention. Make sure your employees are downloading those apps so that they're getting those alerts as well. We have throughout Louisiana and Mississippi, we have over 1,000 patients that are being seen every day by your staff, and we want to make sure that your staff members are safe getting to and from those patients in the midst of all of this extreme weather that we're seeing now. And if you have any questions or concerns in your area of the state, please give me a call. Let me know. I'll be more than happy to assist you in making the connections that you need to make for your office, for your staff, and for your patients. In the meantime, please be safe, and we'll see you all back here next Wednesday, same time, same station.